All right, all right, all right. We are back. We are live. We are here. Rat Pack Sports Show Wednesday night. Bring you the best there is. We live. We streaming now on Facebook. Bucks Life, Rat Pack Sports Show, Twitch. We're also streaming on. I want to say, thinking also my personal Facebook page as well. But we are streaming live, and we want to welcome everybody that's that will be tuning in to the streams and checking us out. So we're gonna have William Graves calling in here in a little bit. Um, to talk some sports. If anybody calling, if anybody listening, you want to call in and give us your opinion, man. Listen, you can call in to the Rat Pack Sports Show hotline. That number is 727-565-1585. I'll throw you right on the air. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no problem with throwing you right on the air. If you want to call in, whatever you want to talk about, we can debate. We can have it out. It doesn't matter to me. I welcome it all. And we're here, man. Got my man Mike coming in from Canada. We got somebody tuning in from Canada on Bucks Life. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for tuning in. As I said, you got the Rat Pack Sports Show hotline. If you want to call in, anybody want to call in and just talk. This is the time here since we're on Bucks Life. We got the live stream going. If you want to call, if you want to ask questions, you got the chat there with you. So anybody in the chat, you can ask questions right in the chat, and I'll answer those. I'll try to answer all the questions I can. Sometimes when I get to me and the guys get going, I miss the questions, but I try to get back to them. So that's if you can't call in. So we here, man. We here, and I'm gonna get into this Bucks Falcons game because that's what I normally do when we go on Bucks Life. We have to talk Bucks, right? We have to talk Bucks. We're gonna talk a couple things with the Bucks. We're gonna get into the game against the Falcons. We'll also get into this week's game coming up, and we'll also get into some stuff that's been happening here, during the week. So we'll have William Graves on with us in a second, and I'll be sure to get to everybody questions. So the hotline number is down there. If you want, you can call in. Like I said, I'll put you on. Just keep it clean, and you can stay on. If you start getting a little bit unruly and out of line, then I'm gonna have to see exit right. I'll just hang up. And you'll probably be talking to yourself for another couple minutes before you realize you're not even on anymore. So let's get into it though. We're gonna get into this this Bucks Falcons game from this past week. The ending score is a lot closer than the game should have been. And I'm gonna go into some reasons why I feel like this team, compared to where we were at this point last season and where we are now, looks a little bit different. The feel is a lot different, and you're starting to see some faults, some little holes in our defense, especially in the running game. We knew, coming into the season, passing game wise, it's a patchwork job, right? I'm not confident in our secondary at all. There's a few guys that I like, Um, but the rest of them, I don't really, I'm not really too fond of. So, but we came out in this game and we was, you know, it was a shutout. First half, um, at one point in the first half, I think the Falcons might have had, and I thought it was a mistake because I was actually out. I didn't watch much of the. I didn't watch it. I was listening to it on the radio. Actually, yeah, I was listening to it while I was finishing up my bike ride. So I didn't see it, but I could hear it. And at one point, we only had gave up 7 yards of offense to the Falcons. And I'm sorry, folks. We're talking about professional football players here. We're talking about the NFL, and anytime you're in the NFL and you're literally giving up you 7 yards of offense in a quarter and a half of football, um, I'm not gonna beat my chest after. I'm not gonna beat my chest after that like we did something. That's just how I am. That's just how I, operate from a of a fan. Of that I'm a fan just like everybody else. I'm a diehard fan, born and this been my one team. When it comes to the NFL, this is my team. There's some other teams that I enjoy watching, but they're not my favorite team. They're not. If the Bucks wasn't winning, I'm not one of those dudes that'll say, you know what, I got my second team, so I'm gonna just root for them. I don't. There's no second team here. There's no second team. I'm a Bucks fan through and through. I'm a Tampa through and through. Whether it's the Bucks, whether it's the Lightning, whether it's the Rays, even from a college football standpoint, my team is USF. That's it. I don't root for the Seminoles. I don't root for the Gators. I don't root for UCF. Now, if they're in a bowl game or something like that, I'll pull for them to win. Florida all the way. But I'm not that dude, and that's just it. I'm not that dude. So, um, I got my man, my boy Michael on the air. He's probably watching on YouTube. Appreciate you, man. But I also got AEW here on the tube. But again, the Bucks are my team, so doesn't matter what happened. I'm gonna root for them. End of the story. But at the same time, I do this sports talk show, and I try to do this sports talk show with the mindset of no matter if we did something good or bad, I got to be neutral in the whole situation when talking about my team. There's a lot of people, I'm not gonna name any names. There's a lot of people out there that they do this sports, they do this sports stuff. And what is my favorite college women's basketball team? Just USF, man. What you talking about, man? I mean, I root for USF when I'm watching women's basketball. There ain't really nobody else. So, um, yeah, we don't win. We don't win a whole lot, but that's okay. That's okay. Uh, now my man Mike just asked me what is my favorite college women basketball team. Now, this question here is two-part answer. Like I said, I root for USF, but also I have a daughter that is playing college basketball, and one of my best friends I consider family, his daughter, they're playing on the same team. So I got to root for them also. Got to root for them also. So I have, you know, two favorite teams. But yeah, but you know, that is what it is. And you know, I always say I got to be down the center when I'm talking Bucks. And a lot of people don't like the fact that I could be a Bucks fan, and at the same time I can be so blunt and so straightforward about what I'm saying that it was to a fan, and I'm gonna say fan because you know a lot of these people fanatics. So no matter what, this team can't do no wrong. Your favorite player on your favorite team can't do no wrong. Every every player on your team that's good, they the best at their position. That's the way a lot of these, you know, fans think. I don't think that way. Um, I call it down the middle. And I have a lot of um, you know, thoughts on this team, and we're gonna bring them in real quick until before I get this thing going. So we got him on the line with us now, Rat Pack Sports Show, Mr. William Graves. What's going on, man? Doing good, brother. Doing good, man. You know, just chilling. Getting ready to talk about these Bucks and talk about this Falcons game and you know, getting off to the hot start. Now, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna front. I'm not gonna front. We say we got off to a fast start, but I mean, we into the second quarter. The game was 0-0. That was kind of surprising to me. I thought we would get going early in the first quarter. We sitting at home. Now, as I say this, I'm gonna say this to all the Bucks fans listening. Right, this division is a lot harder than you think. We may not have a whole lot of offense from these other teams, but I think Carolina can play defense. Obviously, you know New Orleans can play defense. And from what I've seen so far from the Falcons, um, you know, they can play defense. Offensively, you know, that's where they both all three of those teams it's a little bit of a challenge. You know, New Orleans is a little bit more solidified on the offensive side of the ball. So they have more weapons, but you know, they're struggling at the quarterback position. So and then you just got Carolina that just fired their coach. So we'll get into that as well. But back to the Bucks. So second quarter comes, there it's 0-0. And I'm like, man, uh, you know, they're keeping this game close. We're not doing nothing. I see all these yards. I see all these yards in the offense we have, 0 points. So that's a problem. They don't mean nothing. Hmm. Yeah. If you're not scoring, if you're not scoring, yeah, those points don't mean nothing. Yeah, they got to turn. They have to turn into points. You just can't just go out and just put up a whole bunch of yards and then not score, and then you're bragging and talking about how great you are on offense. No, you're not really that great. You're not scoring, so doesn't mean anything. Got to finish drives. You have to finish drives. If you can't finish drives, we got a problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that's not a bad thing.
Well, one of the things that, and ladies and gentlemen, we got William Graves on the line with us. I am aware of on his end. Well, on his end, we're not. I keep his vocals are not coming through on the stream, so I'm in the middle of fixing that. So by the time we're done with this interview, I'll have that taken care of. But um, we're never mind. I think I just fixed it. So um, you know, glitches in the system. So no, I can hear you. It is the stream. It's the stream, the audio coming through the stream where I can hear everything on you. So when we play back this recording on the podcast, you're good. Everybody be able to hear you. I got levels. It's just the software bringing the voice through from Skype is where the problem is. So um yeah, we're you checking it out. So go ahead. Yeah. Nah, nah, you straight. So let me make sure I got this Skype set up right. Cause now I should be hearing I should be seeing your levels. I'm not seeing your levels anymore. So what's yeah, I know, right? It's always Skype. It is always Skype. Ain't nothing else going on but Skype. So let me get this squared away. William, just uh just keep talking as you are, man, because I need to be able to see your your levels so I can get this right. So uh-oh. Hold on. Yeah. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, got you. You good.
Okay.
Um
All
everything
right.
good
So,
now.
all right, cool. So, like I was saying, man, all of this, you know, this, I guess you could say frustration with us not putting up 45, 50 points a game, we shouldn't have to have an offense like that. And, and I mean, yes, I understand that we got Tom Brady. I understand he
Mm-hmm.
he is he is probably going to go down as the goat. Okay,
Yeah, more than likely.
I understand we got Godwin. I understand we got Evans. I understand we got Fournette. But just because we got those guys does not mean that we're going to be scoring every time we get the ball. And like we are not invincible. Okay, and and I mean there's other factors to look into. I mean our offensive line. I mean, look, man, for that patch job that Bowles and company had to do on that offensive line after Jensen went down. Who was it? Was it Marpet retired?
Yep.
Alex Coppa went to the Bengals and all that. Look, man, for for a patch job and everything like that on that offensive line, man, look, they haven't been doing bad.
No, they haven't,
They
man. They haven't at all. I thought actually they've protected Brady about as well as you can protect a quarterback with four new starters. Um, the last couple weeks, Smith did return last game,
hmm
and obviously Smith is your starter, so you're gonna see a difference. As much as people,
hmm
gripe about Smith, he ain't the best, but he's the best we have at left tackle. So, there was a difference with him being out there, kind of stabilizing everybody else to kind of fall back into their, regular position. So, but they've been good. From a run ball, if you want to line up and run the ball, um, this is probably one of our better running offensive line we've had since the offensive lines that we had with, that Davin Joseph, German True Blood, and
Yeah.
what's the other guy name I've played center? Fane. I think it was Fane.
Yep.
I can't remember, but
Yep.
that offensive line there running the ball, we can line up and run the ball against anybody. It didn't matter. When the Bucks want to be physical, they can line up and run the ball. We've been consistent in that. Now you talk about the offense and how the offense over the years has changed. Well, from last year's how they changed, this year. And hold on, I got a question here. So let's this question. Out of all sports, what is the best sport? This question is for both of us, William. This is from Spartan 414 on Twitch. So out of all the sports, which is the best sport? Personally, for me, I'm gonna give you my top three. I'm gonna give you my top three. And
Okay.
professional sports. We're gonna stay on professional. But my top three, I will have to put obviously oh, this person from Ireland. Okay. Shout out to Spartan, man, listening from Ireland. Okay. We 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 crossed
Ireland in the house.
we crossed the drink. We in Ireland. Okay.
Debo, we officially international.
Yeah, we international, baby. International players. No, it was but yeah, but um my number one sport, and this list might be different in 2 years, but in this order, um this is what it is. Football is still number one, right?
Uh-huh.
But on the heels is hockey. Hockey is number two for me. Number two for
Okay.
me. I got an NBA is three. Baseball is four. That's my that's my top sports.
Uh, well, I guess for me, I guess my top three sports, I guess it has to be um it's gonna have to be football, baseball, and hockey.
Okay. And I know you from Ireland, so you probably into soccer. I just can't get into soccer. I can't. I mean, I watch
Uh,
it. I watch it, but it's not. I grew up playing
I
these
mean,
sports. I grew up playing these sports, so that's why I watch them as close as I did. I didn't watch. I didn't watch. NHL until like later in like high school, and then obviously in I never got to play hockey, but you know, but as the years go on, hockey is probably that sport for me that is climbing the list, and it is climbing very fast, very fast.
well, uh, you know, um, the only reason that baseball for me is ahead of hockey is because simply uh, that's the sport that I've literally been following the longest. I can't say following, but it's one of the sports I was really into. I mean, I followed football and everything, because I remember those uh those Cowboys Super Bowls, those 49er Super Bowls. I remember watching it all and and all that. But baseball was one of those sports that I was really involved in, and and honestly, that's the only reason why hockey. I got into hockey really early because, well, where I was living at, um, and everything, up in Alaska, there were two. I mean, we had all three sports. We had football, baseball, and hockey, but hockey was like the big thing up there, and so it's something that I got into at a relatively young age, and and all that. And so that's why hockey's my number three. Uh, Basketball used to be my number three, but honestly, I I I'm starting to get back into it, but man, I spent so long away from it that it was not even funny.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, as we do every week, um, we we're getting closer to the NBA season, and we'll get back to these questions. Y'all just keep them coming. And I'll run them off as we can. But we talk NBA, and we got the best, one of the best guys out there. You may not know of him now, but I guarantee you, uh, I put him up against anybody. I tell you that right now. I put him up against anybody, and we got him on the line with us now to talk some NBA. Mr. Nicholas Lane, Rat Pack Sports Show NBA Insider. What's going on, brother?
Good evening, boys. It is great to be back on. And
Nicky Buckets, how are you doing, sir?
what's going on, William?
Man, you know,
6 days to the NBA season, guys.
no. No. So 6 days till the Bulls start their march towards their championship. Got it.
Hey, they're good. They're going to be good. But we saw it. They're not good enough. And they're still not good enough. But they are a good team.
The whole ball situation kind of worries me. I'll be honest with you.
It should. Out of Jaren Jackson, Robert Williams, and Markelle Fultz, who are out on injured reserve right now.
Mm-hmm.
Lonzo Ball is supposed to be out the longest.
Yeah, that's concerning, my man. That's real concerning.
January is optimistic. February is probably more realistic.
Well, then we're going to keep the faith and everything, but I would rather him. I would rather him take the time to heal properly and come back properly than trying to speed through it and then come back and get injured again and all that. I mean, yeah, it sucks, but man, I'd rather have him 100% on that court later than 75% sooner.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, we've seen Lonzo Ball be an actual difference maker of a player. I think he's an excellent player, and the Bulls are going to have to survive without him through Ayo Dosunmu, Alex Caruso. Those two guys are going to play pretty pivotal roles throughout the season to help keep the Bulls afloat outside of DeRozan and Vucevic. Javonte Green will play a lot of minutes, and he will have he'll have a lot of time on the court, and I think he's a good glue guy. But Lonzo Ball's a ball handler. Lonzo Ball's a shooter, and this is why you paid Alex Caruso this money, is in case someone goes down, all of a sudden you can spring him in. He can handle the ball. He's an okay shooter, but he's a really good defender. And I think Lonzo has improved leaps and bounds in his defensive abilities throughout the years. And we're going to see a guy like an Alex Caruso really kind of earn his contract here.
Well, like I said, I'm crossing my fingers.
They're going to be a playoff team, a team with DeRozan and Vucevic, a pretty good coach in Billy Donovan. I mean, the organization is far removed from their Jim Boylan days, which we all know on this show. He's a Tom Thibodeau, disciple. It seems like out there as a coach. So, I mean, Billy Donovan is an above average coach that can get you to where, he essentially gets you to. And so I think the Bulls are going to be fine. They'll survive. The East is still pretty good this year. The bottom part of the East, I think, drops off considerably because they want to tank for, of course, the almighty Victor Wembanyama. So I feel like the Bulls are a play-in / a 16. They're in that range. I think the Hawks are obviously going to be in that range too, where the Hawks last year obviously was a play-in team that got to the 8th seed, but they massively improved with DeJounte Murray. So to me, I put the Hawks and the Bulls around that same tier in the East.
Okay. Well, like I said, remaining optimistic. So, what else you got for us tonight, Nicky Buckets?
Well, we spent some time last week talking about the Eastern Conference when it came to who we think is in that, who's better than who in the top 4. But I wanted to talk a little bit out west. And the most glaring team to always talk about, and it's mundane, and I know Derek's probably shaking his head right now, but it's got to be the Los Angeles Lakers. I know you don't like spending time on this team, but they do look a little different from last year. Patrick Beverley was pretty good for them. I think as an on-court player, Patrick Beverley still has it. I think he's still that good Bulldog defender that is becoming sneakily a better shooter than he used to be. That first thing is still really weird. Do you believe that Anthony Davis has so much to prove? This is his year to prove that outside of the bubble, the Lakers got a superstar. So I still think LeBron is LeBron. I mean, obviously, LeBron hated on the show. That's fine. But we still can't deny how good he still is. And I want to say that Anthony Davis should be the one taking over this team, where obviously LeBron's the leader. But I wanted to see your thoughts here about Anthony Davis needing to redeem himself this season. What do you think about that?
Anthony Davis has been, as you said, since the bubble, and that was when he was at his best. He was at his best in that bubble, and since then it's been injury after injury. Can't stay on the court, and when he is on the court, he's a shell of what he was. What he was in New Orleans. I don't know what it is about LA. We've seen some good players go to LA and just kind of fall in their face in the last few years. I can I can pin it towards something, but a lot of people wouldn't want to hear that. But I can bring solid proof to tell you another superstar with LeBron James don't fit. I mean, the only one that really did fit was Kyrie because they were two totally different type of players. Neither one of their games were the same. Anybody that has any game similar to what LeBron James is as a star, they don't play as well. Kevin Love didn't play as well with LeBron James, and then after LeBron James left Cleveland, Kevin Love all of a sudden decided, oh, I still do know how to play basketball. Um, you see it now in LA with Anthony Davis. Other big name stars, they want the ball in their hands too. They don't the offense should be run through them at times too. Anthony Davis was a very effective player in New Orleans. And you can't tell me if you don't run your offense through him that you still not as good, maybe even a better team, because Anthony Davis can open up so many other things by solidifying himself around the basket. This is a problem. Since Anthony Davis has been in LA, he's all of a sudden decided, I want to become a shooter. Well, you can't just shoot. You're a 7-footer and you made your money doing what you do around the basket. I'm not saying you can't shoot it, but you know, go get your money, go get your buckets and make your money shooting 65% from the field and just killing folks. I don't understand it. And since he's come to LA, I thought he was a little bit tougher in New Orleans, but he's playing kind of soft. He's kind of soft to me, man. Anthony Davis is, you know, you can't be 7 foot and be soft. Uh, that's not how I grew up. Even watching basketball, 7 footers are not supposed to be soft. They're not supposed to shy away from contact. They're not supposed to be just predominantly shooters. The game has changed, and because the game has changed a little bit, these players decide that they want to change with the times and take away the best part of their game, scoring around the basket, 15 and in, 10 and in. There's no there's no there's no post. There's no true post. The best post player in the league is in Denver from a big man standpoint. But that's because he didn't learn how to play basketball over here. He learned how to play basketball in Europe. So,
And Derek, Jokic has the richest contract in NBA history.
oh, he does.
And pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure he does.
I mean, he's good. He's good. I mean, for Denver, he's worth
But
it
to prove your point, when it comes to Jokic, does most of his damage in that 10 to 15 feet range. Yeah, he goes out on the three. Yeah, he goes out at the wing, at the corner of the free throw line. He does all his passing there. He does most of his shooting either in the post or at three. But to prove your point of Davis wanting to completely change his strength compared to where he was at New Orleans, where he had a real point guard, he had Drew Holiday. In bubble, like him or not, he had Rajon Rondo. And Rajon Rondo has been good with Anthony Davis throughout in the past. So when you put a guy like Russell Westbrook as your actual point guard to Anthony Davis, and it hasn't worked, right? It didn't work last year.
No.
Now Anthony Davis only played maybe half the games last year, if we're lucky. So we don't have enough of the sample size to say that Westbrook and Davis doesn't work together. And I think you're right, Derek. I feel like Anthony Davis, the offense should be ran through him. LeBron can cut. LeBron can go to the corner. LeBron could still take it in the clutch. He could drive to the basket. He can flash to the rim. Anthony Davis is a good enough passer that he can see him when you're trying to get Davis the ball enough. But when in New Orleans, Davis was a force on the inside. He was a force in that 10 to 15 foot range. But you combine what he can do putting the ball on the floor now and his footwork. If you combine that and still put him in the inside where he was dominant in New Orleans, you got a first team All NBA player right there to me.
Yeah.
But when he's obviously outside too much, and he has said publicly and through the insiders, the reporters in the league, that they want a center. He wants a center out there because he doesn't want to play center. So
I don't
I
understand that.
feel like he has completely gone away from what he is best at, and he's going to need to prove that he can do both inside and out and play that defense. Because outside of him and maybe Beverly and of LeBron on occasion, they don't have a lot of defenders on that roster. So Anthony Davis is going to be asked to do quite a bit every night to keep the Lakers competitive. Because we've seen Westbrook and LeBron without Davis and what the Lakers look like.
Shoot.
Not pretty.
Yeah, they look
It
like
doesn't work.
they look like the Washington Wizards. Well,
Wizards, yeah.
the Wizards, even the Wizards last season was probably better than the Lakers near the end of the season. So that is very bad. Again, nobody, and people don't talk about this enough, and I get it. You don't want to shame LeBron James or anything like that, but we always talking about the greatest ever conversation. You're in LA. I don't care what anybody says. They building this team around what LeBron wants. And because you had LeBron and then you gave up all that talent. So there's no reason for me to sit here and act like he number one, maybe he's not in the room calling the shots, but they're consulting with him about these moves. Why wouldn't you want LeBron James to play with a Kuzma, a young athletic guy like Kuzma that could give you a lot of things on both ends of the court, or a guy like Lonzo Ball? You want a point guard. You didn't have a point guard. You didn't need Russell Westbrook. You could have kept Lonzo. You could have kept Lonzo.
And
he could have ran the point.
And they had another scorer, Brandon Ingram.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so you could have you had LeBron and all those dudes, and then you just got rid of them. Why? Because obviously, on the teams that these guys are on right now, they're the best players on those teams, on those respective teams. Either one or two of the best players on those teams. So you had all those guys on your roster.
Heck, even Josh Hart's going to be a starter for the Blazers. He was in the Anthony Davis trade too.
Yeah.
So, to me, was the bubble title worth it? Obviously, the Lakers think it was. Yes and no, right? Like, you always make those big impact trades to win a title, but you also make those big impact trades to be good for multiple years in the window that you're giving your team to be that good.
Yes.
And so far, they have accomplished one of them. And the other part, if I'm hearing it right from Stephen A. Recently, that Indiana doesn't even want the Westbrook trade that we talked about last week, then no one's going to want Westbrook. Not even the Charlotte Hornets will want him. And that is a disaster. The Lakers still could have been, like, okay, right? Like, Anthony Davis could have been out, but then they still had a KCP, a Kuzma, a Montrezl Harrell. I mean, they would have still had guys to at least make them competitive enough until Davis came back. But they didn't do that. So to me, what's funny about it all is they kept Taylor Horton Tucker as, like, quote unquote, this is our young guy. This is our young talented guy that we're going to give him that playing time. And quite frankly, he wasn't as good as a Kyle Kuzma is.
Nope.
So what did they do? They had to ship him off to get Patrick Beverly, which is the opposite effect of a Taylor Horton Tucker. Now I like Patrick Beverly, but he's old. He's been in the league a long time. He played overseas before he came into the league. I mean, you see where I'm getting at? Taylor Horton Tucker's what, 21?
Yeah,
maybe?
I mean,
I mean, he's a bricklayer. I get it, and he needs a lot of work. But I think the start of that talent was getting better with him.
yeah, and I think for some reason, and we talked about this with the Lakers, man. They're doomed. They're doomed. Um, it doesn't matter. LeBron can stay. He can stay and play another 5 years. He's not gonna. He couldn't save him last season when they won 37 games. I mean, and he sat out the last 5-6 games of the season because he was out of the race. He could have played. He could have played, dude. I ain't trying to hear nothing that nobody's saying. If they was in the playoff hunt, that man would have played. That's another reason why, man, I ain't trying to anybody with this this GOAT argument. You can't put that dude in no GOAT conversation because he take nights off. And the best players that ever played a game, they never took nights off, even if they was playing for a losing team. They didn't take nights off. So you keep taking nights off just because your team out of it. Nah, you're not in it for me. I mean, he never was in it for me. I grew up doing the special time of the NBA, but that was probably the highlight of the history of the league. With what as many Hall of Fame players that they had playing during that time, and the way the game was played, um, you know, they I just look at the game different. So no, he is not in that conversation. He's one of the top, you know, small forwards to ever play the game, but I wouldn't even put him ahead of Larry Bird. So I mean, they're doomed. They're doomed. The Lakers are doomed. They're doomed.
They're doomed this season, and if Anthony Davis doesn't become the Anthony Davis, or of course he misses a bunch of games, obviously either way, right? Like if Anthony Davis could become the New Orleans Anthony Davis, then the Lakers have a shot. They actually do have a shot, I think so. But if they don't, and they have to rely on LeBron too much, and Westbrook becomes erratic, and he's not as reliable some nights, then all of a sudden you've got another disastrous season, and LeBron only gave him a 2-year extension. So their time will be running out soon. To me, hinging all your hopes on Anthony Davis this year, it's a lot to ask of somebody that feels probably not up to it for a season-long situation.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Obviously, being that LeBron is in LA, they're always gonna be in that conversation. I want to see what everybody preseason rankings are and what they actually think, or where they actually think that the Lakers will finish in the Western Conference this season. Now, remember, folks, they're coming from not making the playoffs, 37 wins, and to me, did they improve a whole lot? I'm not so sure. They brought in some guys, but how much those guys are going to give them, and how much better they're going to be compared to the rest of the conference that obviously are a lot younger and are getting better. Even if they stayed with the same groups that they have, they're so young, they don't have anywhere to go but up. They're going to get better. Denver got back Murray. He's finally playing. And so, they're going to be a lot better. Now.
Hey, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I was going to go ask you a question about something. So I'll let you say what you was gonna say
Well,
off of that.
I, I was I was gonna go pivot onto a different team. So why don't you ask your question first?
Okay, so my question: everybody's seen the video by now. What is gonna happen in Golden State with Draymond Green?
I think he's going to be suspended. The answer is going to be point blank here. It's going to be 8 to 10 games. Is what I think he's going to be suspended. I don't see him being traded, but I do see Jordan Poole getting that contract extension from the Warriors. There's a lot of talk out there that Jordan Poole will get a contract extension from the Warriors, and Draymond Green might not. And obviously, there's part of that frustration of what happened. But I think it is 8 to 10 game suspension for Draymond Green, and I don't see the Warriors trading him.
Yeah, I feel like now I'm one of these old school guys that I always feel like what happens in practice stays in practice, and from time to time you're gonna have guys go at it, in practice. That just kind of happens. A lot of people have stated that to the effect of with this whole situation that this happens a lot. People that play sports, been in the locker room, they understand it, they get it. But to me, this situation felt a lot different um, than it than just a situation where two guys are going at each other. And the reason I say that is Poole, why yes, you can see on video, you can't hear anything, but you can clearly see they both was going at each other, talking a little bit of trash. Now, Draymond Green has been a trash talker his whole career. He's always got something to say about another player. And to me, if you're gonna be that guy when the shoe is turned and it's you somebody's talking about, you got to hold your composure, buddy, because you've been doing this for years. The tough guy attitude that you put on, which I'll say right now, to me, it's fake tough guy. Kind of like when who was it that called Kevin Durant a fake big man? I forget who it was. Um, but to me, Draymond Green for a long time has been putting on this tough guy act like he's part of the 1990 Detroit Bad Boys, and you ain't. You're not like that. You're a fake tough guy, and this situation just proved you're a fake tough guy because as you can see on the video, yeah, Poole was running his mouth, but Poole wasn't trying to fight you. He wasn't trying to fight you. You a grown man. You run up and jump in another grown man face, and you got people saying, "Well, Poole shouldn't have pushed him." Well, you shouldn't be in my face like that either. I'm not coming to your face. I'm standing in my area where I'm at, saying whatever I like. Now, the second you step in my face with that tough guy talk, then guess what? I'm gonna remove you from my face, whether that be from me pushing you or me knocking you out, putting you to sleep. Either way, you gonna get out of my face. One of the two. So Poole did what most would have probably done. I'm not trying to fight my own teammate. I'm gonna just push you. Dude, you tripping, you on something, get out my face. He pushed him. Well, the push from Poole turned into a sucker punch from Draymond Green. For me,
It was a pretty bad punch.
oh, it was he.
It
Hey, it was a
was
Superman
not
punch.
good.
It was a Superman punch, like he was in the UFC or something. He left the ground and hit this dude. Like you, you can't, you can't come back from that. I don't care what Golden State says, Steve Kerr say, or some of those other guys on that team. Yeah, Draymond been there a long time, and he's a big part of the foundation that was built. But at this point, to me, this is the beginning of the swan song for Draymond Green, in Golden State. He can't be there long term after this season because Poole ain't going nowhere. They're not finna let Poole walk. So they're gonna make a decision at some point, whether it's after this season.
He's too talented.
Exactly.
He's too talented, and Draymond is too much of a glue guy.
Yeah.
And his style of play, who he is, he's aging. He's a worse shooter than he's ever been in his career.
Yeah.
And he is so compromised on offense that the only reason why he's still good is because of his defensive ability. If he didn't have that,
oh, he'll be terrible.
I don't even know if he could even be in the league after a couple seasons after that. That's how bad his offensive game is, unless he gets layups. So, to me, I just think that Jordan Poole meshes pretty well with Clay and Steph, and he can dominate bench units. I mean, Jordan Poole can absolutely dominate second unit pretty easily. So I think he adds more long-term value to the organization compared to Draymond, where Draymond is not going to get paid by the Warriors for doing. He's already had his contract. This is his last big one, and the Warriors are not going to give it to him because he's really not that good anymore.
Yeah, and the Warriors have done
he's not good enough.
Yeah, and the Warriors have done such a great job. We talked about this during the down years of Golden State when, Clay was out, Draymond Green was in and out of the lineup with injuries, Steph Curry was in and out of the lineup with injuries, and a lot of these unknown guys was playing and logging a lot of minutes, and then they was getting on top of that, quality draft picks. We called this, and Golden State has built this team for another run. Steph Curry is still young. Now you add a Poole with Steph Curry. That's going to prolong Steph Curry because now he doesn't have to be the Steph Curry we've seen the last 7 years. He could just be Steph Curry and play off of these guys at times and let Poole go off. You got, Klay Thompson, he's still young. He's still going to do what he do. You have Wiseman. You got, Wiggins. I mean, this team is deep. There's, after Draymond Green, they become very young and athletic. So why?
The thing about Jordan Poole that I see with how the Warriors look at it is that Curry doesn't have to handle the ball every possession.
Yep.
The offense doesn't have to run around. The offense doesn't have to evolve around Curry running through like 3 screens. Jordan Poole can play isolation. He can pass. He can obviously hit the 3 almost elite level. I mean, he's a really good 3-point shooter.
Yeah,
he's not just an average one.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's like a 4 of 8, 4 of 9 type of shooter from 3, like most nights. Like the guy is really good there. And I just see Golden State saying that Steph doesn't have to carry us every night. Clay doesn't have to carry us every night. And now Jordan Poole can. Like in the playoffs, it's so important when you have a guy like Wiggins who is changing his game quite a bit throughout the last few years. He's becoming a better defender. He's becoming a better rebounder.
Yep.
Because he came into the league as this prospect that was this elite athleticism and elite defensive ability. And it's taken him a long time for us to see that elite defensive ability. Because as a prospect, he was touted that way. So what I would say is that Poole is way more valuable. Draymond is obviously what he's already done for the organization, but not what he's going to do for the organization is how the Warriors are going to look at this. And, I mean, they would be crazy to pay Draymond based off of his past performance and not give Jordan Poole the contract he does deserve. And so I also see a guy like a Jonathan Kuminga that I feel like could have a little bit more of an expanded role off the bench. They still have Otto Porter Jr., who played pretty well in the regular season last year. They got Dante DiVincenzo in the offseason, which was a pretty nice addition. That guy is a terrific bench player for that team, too. So there's other guys that you even didn't mention that makes this Warriors team pretty deep. It's hard to not say that they're not the favorite in the West this coming year. Now, I would, to put a bow on the West, at least for tonight, I want to talk about the Denver Nuggets. So the Denver Nuggets, who played the Warriors in the first round, didn't have Michael Porter Jr., didn't have Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon is a shell of himself, even still today he is. He's not as good as he used to be. I really like this Denver team when it comes to getting those players back with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. The Nuggets, I think it shows how good Nikola Jokic is. Even without those two players, they still won a game against the Warriors. And to me, Jokic, it's hard for him to only get better, but there's a case out there that, yeah, he could get better. He could be a better defender. He could still hit jumpers maybe from the mid-range better than he has, because he's an elite three-point shooter for his position, and he is obviously elite in the post, and he's an elite passer. I think this team is still really good. I think Aaron Gordon is absolutely terrible. And they have a guy, know this name, he's going to come up a lot this season. I think he's going to break out, and Sean Naylor is nodding his head, ready to listen to this. Bones Highland is the guy that is going to be their Jordan Poole down the road. This is how good Bones Highland is. And I think that we're going to see a much more expanded role for him this year on the Denver Nuggets. There's no Monty Morris again. There's no Will Barton to get in his way. There's no Federico Campazzo anymore on the Nuggets. I think Bones Highland is going to get high 20s per night, and he is going to be a dynamite player for this Nuggets team.
See, I don't know who that guy is, but since you said something about it, I'm gonna keep an eye out, and I hope Boss Hog is listening, because you're barely wrong about unknown players. You got a very good record with unknown players, so hey, that'll only help them if they got a guy that could be similar to a Jordan Poole type to add with those two they already have. And I mean, you still got, Aaron Gordon and some of those other guys that's, big time contributors to the team there as well.
The thing, you've watched Emmanuel Quickly play on the Knicks. The guard who scores in spurts. He's really fast.
Yeah.
He hits a lot of step back threes. He doesn't get the playing time because, of course, Thibodeau plays Derrick Rose over him for some reason that nobody can explain. To me, Bones Highland is maybe a little bit taller than Quickly. They have kind of similar hairstyles a little bit. And Bones Highland takes those deep threes. He is a fast up and down player. It's only his second year in the league this coming year. I think his ability to grow handling the ball more and kind of running an offense, especially with the second unit, and maybe a little bit with the first here and there, like to say if Jamal Murray gets in foul trouble, for example, then you're going to see a lot of Bones Highland. And I think he's a very exciting player. He plays at a fast pace. I think you would actually like watching him, Derek. I think he's a very impressive player that the Nuggets are going to really like having. That they're going to be pretty happy to have him, because Michael Porter Jr. is going to be limited in some nights. And of course, Jamal Murray is going to be limited because he needs to get back to 100%, just like Michael Porter Jr. somehow has to reconstruct his back or whatever the heck needs to happen with him in order to be the elite shooter. And I'm talking a top 10 shooter in the league that Michael Porter Jr. can be. And it's special for how tall he is.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And I think it's to watch and see how he, grow and develop is going to be very interesting. And we also have on the TV now, this game just started, the Timberwolves and the Lakers. So we get a sneak peek at the Lakers right now, and see what they how they look against a young and hungry team in Minnesota that has a pretty good guy in their post by the name of Big Cat. So, well, I don't think
let's quickly talk about Minnesota. And they gave up a ton in the Gobert trade. I thought they gave up maybe a little too much in the Gobert trade, but they gave up a ton. They only really kept Jaden McDaniels outside of Anthony Edwards and obviously Towns there. I want to see your take. What do you think? So Gobert is obviously a lead around the rim. He can't really do anything else outside of maybe 10 feet. And he's a good screener, but also you're talking Anthony Edwards doesn't feed off pick and roll. Anthony Edwards is in isolation, put the ball on the floor guy. So do we believe that Anthony Edwards is ready to take control of this team? And I think that is the major question in Minnesota. My answer is no. I don't think he's ready yet to be the the unquestionable alpha dog, the unquestionable, like a Jimmy Butler like type of guy that I feel like Anthony Edwards needs to be. And we've seen it that Karl Anthony Towns is not an alpha dog leader type guy. He's a follower. And so Anthony Edwards needs to be that guy, and I think he's not ready for it. That's where I would say, and D'Angelo Russell, he's not that guy either. So it's only Edwards. And to me, they're not ready. And that's why they're not going to be in the Western Conference Finals. That's why they're going to get knocked out probably in the first and second round, is where I think that the Timberwolves will be in that range. I think they're a fifth best team in the West, somewhere in that range. Maybe fourth, maybe fifth, somewhere around there. Like we talked about earlier with the Lakers, if Anthony Davis puts everything together, I do think the Lakers can be a top 3, top 4 team in the West. I think Memphis is obviously pretty high up there. And of course, Phoenix is, of course, up there as well. So to me, Minnesota is not as good as Memphis. They are not as good as Phoenix. But I think if they catch the right team at the right time in the playoffs, you can see Minnesota getting into the second round of the playoffs.
I personally think that Edwards is probably a year, maybe 2 away from being ready to take over that team. I have to agree with you. I don't think he's ready yet.
Well, and the weird thing about that, William, when it comes to this Gobert trade, is they made it assuming that they think he is ready to take control of that team. He's barely 21 at best. He's not that old. And yeah, he plays like it. Yeah, he talks like it, but I think he needs one more year. And I think you're right about that too, William. I think we're 1 year away from seeing the Timberwolves probably being at their best. And when you make that massive of a trade to get Gobert, how much they gave up, Maybe they did it a year too early.
No, well, I mean, when you talk about what they gave up, I have to agree with you. I think that they gave up a little too much because, I mean, yeah, I mean, in the long run, n- it's probably going to work out, but for the here and now, um, yeah, a little too much. I I do want to go back to the Nuggets really quick and everything. With those players in place, do you think that Denver is going to be a championship caliber team here in the next couple of years?
Yes, I do think that. I do think that they are. And
Oh,
obviously, it's very health dependent when it comes to Murray and Michael Porter Jr. But I do think if we're talking that they're healthy, then yes, absolutely. I think they are a championship caliber team. Jokic is really that good. And I do think Bones Highland is that good of an X factor down the road. Yes, this season he's going to take a pretty big leap because he's going to get a lot more playing time in how I see it. But I think when we're talking, the championship amount of years to get from where the Nuggets are to where obviously you win a title, by then I feel like these guys will have played long enough. And let's say a team like the Warriors might be declining by then, that yes, I feel like the Nuggets are a championship caliber team if they keep if they keep these guys together.
well, you talk about the Warriors declining and everything. I might be I might be reaching for this and everything, but to me, the Warriors are set up to go. Pretty much long term. Um, because I'm kind of looking at their bench, and maybe I'm missing something, but honestly, I think eh, easily got uh, a top three, maybe even the top bench in the entire NBA because I don't really see a lot of other teams that you can definitely say, yes, they got a better bench than the Warriors. I mean, maybe I'm missing something here, but honestly,
Well,
I feel like
my statement about Nuggets going up and the Warriors going down is the amount of years it will take for the Nuggets to reach that height. And then by the time that happens, I would predict that the Warriors would decline to not be the top team in the West. Unless, trades or free agency. I mean, there's things that are out of our control of what we know down the
right.
road. But in the argument of within the next 3 years, the Nuggets can be plateauing where possibly the Warriors could be going down. Because right now, we haven't even seen James Wiseman barely even play. He hasn't been that great when he was playing his rookie year. And Kuminga, I think he is improving. I think he's getting better. But he's not – I don't see him as that crazy difference maker player. He's still too raw for me that even in 2 years that we're going to see Kuminga just this absolute dominant force with Jordan Poole as their next core. I see Kuminga needing a little bit more time to be dominant. Now, just like I said with Bones Highland, I think Kuminga will get more minutes this year. I think we'll see him more often, and I think his athletic ability will still see how talented he is with just that, his athleticism. But when it comes to him being the skilled veteran-like NBA player, he is so far away from that. But he's going to get away with a lot of stuff with his athleticism for now. But the Warriors coaching 3 years down the road, he can be an all-star type player. I'm not denying that about Kuminga's ability. I just think Nuggets in 3 years will be probably at the top of where we can see them, and the Warriors, I think, in 3 years can be declining from where we see them at their current state. Barring free agency and trades and stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, I look at their core player right now, Steph Curry. Okay, he is that guy. He is the man there. Um, honestly, I mean, yeah, we look at him as relatively young, but I'm also looking at the other side that he has maybe 6 to 8 more years left. I mean, I know that I'm throwing those years out like they're nothing and all that, but I mean, in 8 years, the guy's going to be 42 years old, and that's usually about the time that some players start winding it down. And I don't think Steph Curry is that guy that tries to hold on or try to grasp at straws to stay in the league. I think that when it comes to that time, I think he's going to walk away. And a really good example of it is the late great Kobe Bryant. When Kobe was done, Kobe was done. He didn't try to stay grasping at straws. To me, he probably had a couple more years left in him, but he chose to walk away I would say, at the top of his game, if not the top, pretty close to it. And honestly,
Yeah,
that's where I see Steph Curry going.
I think Kobe at the end was broken down enough to where his body wasn't very good anymore. He was out long periods of time on injury. His last couple seasons, I think he kind of was hanging on. Honestly, Kobe was at the end of his career. Now we see his last game, and I look like an idiot to say that, but you can't deny that he missed way too many games. The Lakers were extremely forgettable during those time periods before he hung them up.
Mm-hmm.
And, to me, Steph Curry, if you're talking 4 to 6 years, 6 to 8 years that you think Steph Curry can play, Derek, correct me on this. How bad was Reggie Miller before he retired? Like his last maybe 2 years left in the league.
I'm trying to think. I mean, he was still a very, very good shooter, but he mainly became a guy that they just, ran off of screens 100% of the time. So
yeah, it's like, do you want Steph Curry to be Kyle Korver his last couple of years, or do you want to still? How many? We got to look at it this way about Curry: is how many years do we see Curry perform, handling the ball, being out there in crunch time, going off screens, getting 3 players to fake, getting and one? How many years do we see him doing that? 2, 3, 3?
Yeah.
I was gonna say 3. I was gonna say 3. Maybe 4.
Maybe,
and that's
4,
a big maybe.
I think 3 is probably the magic number. So then in 6 years, what do we see Curry as? Kyle Korver. That's essentially what he would be. He's small. He's eventually going to have injuries, let's say, in those 6 years. He's going to have something that's going to affect him for a little bit of time. Now, is he still going to be, of course, his status of the greatest shooter of all time? 100%. Nobody will catch his record. We already all know that. But Steph Curry being effective, we're saying in 3 years where the Nuggets are going to be at the top, right? We think that's where they're going to ascend as good as they're going to be. And the Warriors in 3 years. So we're talking Steph Curry is going to be about, let's say, 60% of himself in 3 years. So you're telling me that you would still take the Warriors in 3 years over an ascending Denver Nuggets team if Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are, let's say they get through these next couple seasons and they look a lot better, like a Jamal Murray bubble and let's say Michael Porter elite shooter here that I think that he really is. That's where a guy like Jordan Poole, like we talked about earlier, Derek, he becomes as important as almost anything on that roster. There's nobody else that might be as important as Jordan Poole in 2-3 seasons.
Well, you're talking about within 3 years, and and the thing is that I wouldn't want to make that call on who is going to be better because honestly, I think in 3 years, especially with the way that you're describing this Nuggets team, I think that they're going to be just about equal. And I will say something else. And it wouldn't surprise me if this happened, that we'll say in 2 to 3 years, let's say the Warriors win a championship in 3 years. I would not be a bit surprised.
Really well could. They could go back to back, or they can win next year. I mean, there's the way they're constructed right now. They still can. And are they still? I mean, you're the champs until you're not, right? So you're still considered the favorite to win the title, and they should. They deserve that. And I think this year they still could win the title. 100% they still could.
Well, what I'm looking at, what I was going to say is I'm looking at it like this, that let's say in that magical number, that third year, okay, let's say that either this year or next year they don't win they win another title, and then another year they don't, but then they come back that magical third year and they win the title. Look, I would not be a bit surprised for Steph Curry to go, that's it, I'm done. Would not surprise me.
I could see that. And another part of the argument that I think is relevant here in the Nuggets going up in 3 years and the Warriors maybe going down in 3 years is that look at the style that Jokic plays and look how Curry plays. The only way the only way that Jokic is going to sustain such a big injury is either knees or feet. Outside of that, maybe ankle, right? So, okay, ankle, fine. But outside of that, unless he has a freak injury, like someone just knocks his eye out or he can't see for something weird like that. He takes a giant elbow in the face and, has to reconstruct his nose and his eyes are all screwed up. Like, fine. Freak injuries happen, ask Blake Griffin. But I would say the way Jokic plays is he's pretty indestructible. He's so big that you can't mash him down low, and he doesn't exert way too much energy to do what he does best. He doesn't, sprint up and down the floor. He kindly just jogs up and down the floor, a fast jog, obviously, and he just completely dominates. He uses his body the best out of almost anybody in the league, outside of maybe Giannis or Luka, right? Like, there's not many people who uses his body the way that his body is there to be in the NBA. Jokic is probably number one. And to me, he looks pretty indestructible. It seems like it's going to be pretty hard for him to, I feel like, miss an extended amount of time unless freak injury above his waist, but more likely knee, foot, ankle would be the only other times he could suffer a pretty major injury. So I still like the Nuggets in this example, and I feel like I have decent reasons. And I just think we're talking, obviously, on both sides, that we don't know what's going to happen in draft, free agency, trade deadline. We don't know any of that. All of that can change, but that's out of our control. We're just talking about what we think we have in front of us here.
Yep. Well, my man Nicholas, as always, brother. Um, appreciate you calling in, man. Every week is always a great conversation. And there's a game on, right? So it's 18-19, first quarter. You see
All
what
right,
the
Derek.
Lakers do.
I want to say one thing before I go.
Yeah.
I think the rule on this show up until the trade deadline is we already know who Victor Wembanyama is. We already know that the teams are going to probably tank for him. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time talking about him before the trade deadline. But I think at the trade deadline, we're going to have to, because I think a lot of these teams are going to be making moves based on trying to put their hat in the sweepstakes for him. So we could probably lay off the Wembanyama topic until maybe the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're going to spend the playoffs and into the draft. Obviously, but he's the guy. So I'd say let's ban Wembanyama until about the trade deadline. I think he's pretty self-explanatory, but he will become relevant around that time frame, around that January time frame. So
Okay. Well, we could do that. We could ban the talk until that point. We probably won't be
because if not, I'm just going to bring him up every week and just talk about how the team's freaking 7-4 and nailing 7 threes and hitting 4 blocks. I couldn't stop talking about him if that was the case. So I have to tone my excitement down for some Victor talk.
Yeah, he did some.
It's just too exciting to talk about him.
Yeah, he did some really good things, and there was a lot of talk about him after, obviously the performance he put on at that size, man. It's definitely a game changer.
Did you check any of it out, Derek? We talked about it last week. Did you check any of it out?
Yeah, I did go and check out a couple of his highlights from a game, and yeah, he's athletic, can run, can jump out the gym. Could do it. He could do it all. So
how
any chance Chicago gets this guy?
William, you would go to Vegas and blow your life savings because you wouldn't know what to do with yourself if that was the case. But Derek, when he hit that weird step back fadeaway 3 where he took like one dribble, gathered himself into the right hand corner and just jacked up the shot.
Yeah.
And he was releasing it like way above his head. Like, did you see that one? Where you're like,
yeah.
What is this guy? Who is this guy,
Yeah, it's kind of weird to see, a guy that size do some of the things that he was doing from just a sheer athletic. We've seen, Dirt Nowitzki and KD. You kind of expected those guys, to be what they were, but this kid here just kind of like, came out of nowhere.
I mean, have you ever seen anybody like him, do you think?
I'm gonna say maybe a younger, Kevin Garnett. I mean, his offensive game wasn't as polished as this kid, but I think everything else kind of matches up with, what he was able to do early on, in his, career. So
to me, I've never seen anything like him. I mean, we could talk about Dirk, we could talk about Durant. Dirk and Durant are like 7 feet at best, and we marvel at what they can do. Victor goes up 4 more inches, and his wingspan is larger than theirs, and we see what he can do.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a fluke. I don't think there's anything about him that's a fluke. I don't think he's a Darko Milicic in any sort of the imagination. Darko back then compared to a Victor now, I'm sorry. There is a much bigger difference, and I think a lot of it, and this was the difference between Durant and Odin, that the work ethic between Durant and Odin was so much greater in Durant's favor that we see this with Victor, that you can't, if anybody were to say, well, I remember when Darko Milicic hit every shot in the gym, and the whole Pistons team were watching him when they were getting ready for the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, yeah, great. But Darko Milicic was not even remotely close when it comes to their work ethics. And we have seen time and time again that the stars that last in the league, the stars that last at the level that they are, always have that work ethic, that Kobe-like work ethic. Now, obviously, Victor, I'm not saying he's Kobe, but I'm saying that at his age, to have the work ethic that he does, NBA teams already wanted him to shut down and not play his season this year, and his reps are like, no, he's going to play. He's going to play his Euro season. So I just feel like this kid's not a fluke.
No, it does. Definitely doesn't look like he is going to be a fluke. We'll see. As season go on, how much production he has, but he definitely looked good from what we saw. Definitely was a good looking individual. So
Well, I know Sean, William, yourself going to be talking some football. I'll let you guys get to it, but it'll be fun this season to talk NBA throughout the year for you guys.
oh yeah, most definitely, man. Like I said, always a pleasure having you on, man, and great conversation. We always have them. A lot of information, a lot of, you know, um, back and forth dialogue, which is good. So, man, we'll see. We'll see as we get closer to the regular season what some of these teams are going to look like, and maybe we see some surprise move here that's being made. But until then, we'll just continue to talk and spread rumors. That's what we're gonna do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys. You guys have a good night, and we'll talk very soon.
All right, buddy. You have a good night, Nicholas. Appreciate you, man.
Of course.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Rat Pack Sports Show NBA insider himself on the line with us, Mr. Nicholas Lane. Always a great conversation when my man calls in. Appreciate everybody that's in the comments and listening on the YouTube and Facebook, but and Twitch. We still got my guy listening on Twitch. So that's great. But we're gonna continue the conversation here. Me and William is gonna get into some NFL. We'll talk about the upcoming games. We don't have a whole lot of time left, so we'll talk about the games coming up this weekend, starting with tomorrow night's game, and then we'll give you our picks as well for those games, and then kind of have another conversation on NFL on our way out. So Um, let's go ahead and get into it. So, this Thursday, which is tomorrow, first of all, before I even ask anything, I'm gonna ask you a question. So far this season, what have you thought about these games on Amazon Prime? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I figured that'll be the response that I got because boy laughing like the Joker over here. Hey, you know what? It's almost so fast.
Oh,
It's almost so fast. I just gotta hear myself laugh. Hey, hold on. Let me make a phone call to Kawhi Leonard. See what he thinks about it. But yeah, man.
oh man, Debo, when you were in high school, yeah, because you graduated uh, a year before I did and everything. So I mean, we pretty much went to high school around the same time. Did you guys ever have like a media center or something like that where people that were interested in broadcast journalism could like go and everything, and maybe they did like, oh, I don't know, like maybe like a little 10-15 minute show at the beginning of the school day or something like that. You remember, like, the classrooms had those TVs that were always mounted into the corner and
Yeah,
everything and all
yeah,
that. Did you guys ever have anything like that?
yeah, yeah. We did have.
Okay, all right. Debo, I've seen better production those out of a high school production team than I have out of Amazon. For being a multi-billion-dollar company that is trying to trying to make a footprint in the sports world like they are, man, they better step their game up because their production has been laughable. I mean, through and through, laughable. There was one game where I could barely hear the crowd. I mean, the production is trash. I'm sorry. I I'll be honest with you, man. I watched that first Amazon game and that was it. And I'll be honest with you, the only other Thursday night game I plan on watching is the Buccaneers one.
Well, you're not gonna get anything out of me, man, because for a while now I've been very open about the broadcasts on um the network, and just saying it's just not acceptable what we're seeing from a quality standpoint. It's just terrible. It's just terrible, and I don't know what they can do. You sign an exclusive right deal for X amount of years, and unless you know somebody come out and takes you off of that, that's what it's gonna be, man. So, um,
Well, then I guess I'm back to watching one Thursday night game a year, and that's the Buccaneers one.
yeah, they haven't been that good. They haven't been that good at all, man. Which surprising, but they haven't really been that good.
Well, when you're talking about one of the number one, or I'm sorry, one of the top media companies that are out there, because let's face it, the only other media conglomerate Well, actually, I guess I would say two is Viacom, and then you have Disney. Then it goes to Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, when like I mean, and I don't get this because their original TV shows and stuff like that, they're fine. So what's the deal with their Thursday night thing? I mean, if I was them, I would go to whoever it was that was producing the Thursday night games that were on let's see, what was it? What was it on the NFL network? Is that where they were at before? Anyways, I would actually go back to that entire production team. I would be like, hey, look, we will pay you X amount of dollars to come over here and continue to produce the Thursday night stuff. I mean, obviously they would have to work out something with whatever company they're working for or what have you. But yeah, they need to step their game up because I'm sorry, but this has been a joke.
Yeah, it has been, man. I was joking about it this past weekend. It's been bad. It's been bad, and having to um, what's his name? I can't get his name now. One think it is is it Hansel? I think I'm not sure, but not take care of business and allowing the things to happen the way it did. You really can't. Yeah, but I think hmm, let me see here. I was just reading something, lost my train of thought. Um, oh yeah, hold on. Yeah, so what we're gonna do now? Let me make sure I got it so right. All right, so um, we got about 10, 15 minutes left. So we're gonna run down the list real quick at some of these games and give you our opinion. All right, so with my screen, man, I just lost my screen. Oh, that. Where is? So we got a score. We got a score update here. Uh, Minnesota 34, Lakers 35. Minnesota, hitting some shots, keeping it close. So we'll see. All right. So, all right. So let's jump back and let's get into you know the games. We spoke our piece on the Amazon Prime broadcast. I think is the most trash uh football park broadcast that I've ever seen, especially with all the money that Amazon got. You would think they'll be able to put together a quality cast, but um, it's not being good. It's been pretty bad. So I'm in the same boat with my guy from um, so let's go with the let's start with the first game on the docket, and then we'll just go down the list and just give us your pick. All right, so first game tomorrow night, Washington, Chicago. What you think about that?
Actually, I I think Washington takes it. Chicago is just not a good team. Um, Justin Fields is kind of falling into that whole Ohio State type type thing, um, where uh, uh, as far as quarterbacks go and everything, and that is these Ohio State quarterbacks, they're great in college and they come to the NFL and they don't really do anything. Um, this is not his rookie year. This is his second year, and he still looks puzzled out there. He really does. Um, I believe that um, Washington is probably a little more polished team than what Chicago is.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, Prime Video got to do better. So, um, what was your pick for tomorrow between Washington and Chicago?
Washington.
All right. All right. The Sunday's matchups. And I'm taking Washington tomorrow night as well. Chicago's just, yeah, whatever. Um, just not, good enough for running back in that situation. Too many piled up tackles. So, um, let's see. San Francisco, you got San Fran at Atlanta. What you think about that?
Wait, now which game is this?
San Francisco, Atlanta.
Uh, Honestly, San Francisco. Sorry, they're a better coach. They're a better coach team.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree with you on that one. All right. So next one is should I do that one? Hmm. Yeah, okay. All right, so next spot. You got New England and Cleveland.
This is where I this is where my first upset's going to be. Uh, I think Cleveland beats New England. I don't think New England really has found that answer at quarterback.
Understandable. Understandable.
And what about you? Who are you going with?
I am going with probably New England. Yeah, I go with New England.
Okay.
I go with New England. I just think New England, you going for the upset, and you got every right because the game's been a lot real, tight leading up to this game. So you got two even teams that's
Mhm.
probably, uh, you know, going at each other. Yep. All right. So next game is some good games this week. New York, Green Bay. I already know, but
New York, Green Bay.
yeah,
Um,
Jets.
man, you can't count out Rodgers. I'm honestly gonna have to go with Green Bay, and strictly because of Aaron Rodgers.
All right. So mine is Green Bay. No explanation. Green Bay. All right. So fifth, Jacksonville, Indianapolis.
Jacksonville, Indianapolis.
Yep, Jacksonville, Indianapolis.
Ooh, uh, ooh, um, ooh, um. This is strictly a hunch, and that's all this is. It's a hunch. But I'm gonna go Jacksonville.
Okay. Well, hey, that wouldn't be a disappointment. I mean, Jacksonville is playing some, really confident football right now too. So, Indianapolis, yeah. All right. So Minnesota at Miami. I'm taking Minnesota. Miami just got too much, going on injuries. So, all right. So let's
um,
see other games: Miami, Minnesota, Cincinnati, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh. Uh, okay.
well, I do think Minnesota is going to beat Miami. And then I think I actually think Tampa will actually take one away from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that could possibly happen.
Um, what's your thoughts on this whole Matt Rule firing?
I think Carolina gave him so much time to actually bond with the players and stuff like that, and then them seeing what some of these other younger coaches are doing, just add more fuel to the fire.
I'll be completely honest with you. I almost kind of think that Matt Rule kind of changed. I think he wanted to be fired. I think he wants to go back to college.
Hmm. Yeah. So where we at? Minnesota, Miami. That's a seem like good. It's a lot of good games. Minnesota, Miami, Cincinnati, New Orleans, Baltimore, New York. Obviously Bucks, Pittsburgh. Yeah, yeah, we're in trouble. Uh, let me see. Yep. So let's see. Cincinnati, New Orleans. Another good game. Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh. New good game. Carolina, New Orleans. It's the last four. They don't care. They don't care. Uh, yeah, they don't care. So let's see. Where we at? 11. So we're that's it, man. Nearly at the end. We got to touch on those previous week shows a lot earlier. I want to definitely get them. Yeah, yeah. So, yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we, as I, and myself and William always do, coming in here, man, appreciate everybody tuning in, listening, and listening to us, um, you know, bet. So we want to send a shout out to everybody listening. Appreciate y'all tuning in and listening. And we'll be back same place, same time next week here on the Rat Pack Sports Show. Again, it is 11, and we got to sign out because I got to take care of some stuff on this computer with different tracks getting uploaded and everything like that. So, um, all right. So, it's Cleveland. Is Cleveland playing? Hold on, let me look at this. Cleveland. Where is it? Oh, yeah. All right. Colts. All right. 11:04. Ladies and gentlemen, um, that is gonna do it for us. We're gonna get out of here, man. Uh, it is 11. I don't want to run it too far over because we are on the live stream and all that stuff is connected. So um, we're gonna get on out, come back, and give you the best days in sports talk and entertainment again next weekend. And also, ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday, we will be back on um, Sunday nights. We will be back on Sunday nights starting this week. So definitely be back on it. So my man, Mr. William Grace, as always, man, I appreciate you calling in. Appreciate my man Nicky
Always.
Buckets. Nicky Buckets for calling in as well. It's always a pleasure having him call into the show. And with that being said, we're gonna get on up out of here for this week. We will see everybody next week. And make sure that you guys tuned in. So with that being said, I'm Debo. That's my man, Mr. William Gray's on the line. Shout out to Nicholas Lane, aka Fantasy Football Insider for the Rat Pack. And appreciate y'all. And we will see you guys on the other side. This is the Rat Pack Sports Show signing out for this week, man. We'll see you. Peace.
Peace.